Today I'll be talking about beginner bikes. Essentially street bikes. A beginner bike is something that you can easily ride, handle, learn on and not get overwhelmed, as well as get enough pleasure. It should have enough power to give you pleasure, not that, after riding for 2 months you think it is underpowered. In the continent of America, there is a lot of dirt biking happening, in which necessarily means that a beginner biker is not necessarily a rank beginner. He has ridden maybe at the age of 3, 4, 5, as I've seen in this country, has started riding dirt bikes really very young. According to the bikes that are available in this country, these are the bikes that I find to be beginner bikes. Let me show you these bikes. Now that's the 2022 Ninja 400. It's a twin cylinder, 6-speed, 49 horsepower, 38 Newton meters of torque. All these numbers are great numbers on paper, and it's also a great beginner bike. It's true that in a lot of countries this would not be considered a beginner bike. That said, this is not my favorite beginner bike for 2 reasons. First one being the price, and the second one being it doesn't come with USD forks. This is fully faired. You also have the Z400 with the same engine specifications. Now that's the naked version of the exact same bike. Z400 from Kawasaki, also 2022. Some people like naked bikes. It's a personal preference. The way you sit on it is different. On this guy, because of the handlebars and the seating position, you'll be sitting a little upright. On the Ninja 400, you'll be crouching a little bit. Now this is clearly one of my favorites, the renowned MT series MT-03. This is the naked version of the Yamaha R3. Now on paper, this is the least powerful with the lowest torque. This has got 42 bhp with 29 Newton meters of torque. Now don't let those numbers fool you, because with this bike I have done 170 kilometers an hour and I still had 1 gear left. At the same time, it is a great beginner's bike. The power delivery is very linear. It won't throw you off guard. And with Yamaha, ABS is standard on all bikes. This is the 2021 version, and it's clearly way cheaper than the Kawasaki naked version of 2022. The way you'll sit on this bike is pretty comfortable. You sit upright, very comfortable stance. Of course, on the R3, you will be more crouched. That's the Yamaha R3 in Yamaha blue colors. The same engine as the MT-03, same performance, parallel twin, 8 valves, 4 valves per cylinder. Fantastic engine. USD forks, good suspension. I would rate this bike higher than the Ninja 400. Now, because it has clip-ons, you'll be sitting a little crouched than on the MT-03. That bike is clearly one of my most favorite bikes. I can talk about this bike all day. There's a KTM Duke 390. Awesome power, great low-end torque, incredible motorcycle. Despite this being one of my favorite bikes, I would recommend this as a beginner's bike, the last amongst all the bikes that I've just shown, for the simple reason of its high torque delivery at a very low RPM. That orange trellis frame, that white subframe, it looks so beautiful. And that brings me to the most favorite motorcycle in this category. It is the Husqvarna Svartpilen 401. 44 horsepower, 37 Newton meters of torque, great looking bike. The suspension is fully adjustable. That is the rebound. This is the compression. The rear suspension is also fully adjustable. World-renowned WP suspension makes it an amazing ride. ABS in the Svartpilen is standard. In Svartpilen, in a lot of countries, it comes with alloys. Here, it comes with spokes. Let me tell you, I've ridden this bike on some bad roads, dirt roads and all of that. This bike is pretty capable. Look at those tires. It also comes with a skid plate. And if you compare frames, that trellis frame is identical to the Duke 390. You have to give credit to Husqvarna to bring this bike out at an amazing price. Only downside to this motorcycle is that it sits a little tall. Now I am 165 centimeters. I barely reach the ground on this bike. A beginner rider might find this a little daunting unless he's at least 170 centimeters tall. Another notable mention is the CBR 300R. It has been a good bike over the last 1 decade. But I did not include it in this video because it would then become too long, and also I In my personal opinion, this bike has become a little dated. The CB300R, on the other hand, is a pretty sharp bike and is a pretty good option as well. And a very, very important mention is the Duke 200. In a lot of respects, the Duke 200 could actually be a better beginner bike than most other bikes that I showed you today. Great engine, it's a great trellis frame, it's a great bike. The only reason why I wouldn't consider this as good a beginner bike as the others is that there's a fair to very good chance that you would get bored of this bike after maybe 6 months. It's very difficult for me to suggest one bike over another. They're all great bikes. I've owned the KTM, so I'd be a little biased towards KTM and the Husqvarna. The Yamaha is great too. The suspension of the Kawasaki is not the best, but it's a great bike as well. It's really difficult actually to choose. They'll be all great bikes. Which bike would you like? Which bike did you start on? What would you recommend? I would like to hear your views. Let's hear them in the comment section down below.